What's going on, dudes and dudettes? So yes, USC football did have a pretty big recruiting battle win slash victory earlier this week when they got the 4-star Louisiana linebacker Tackett Curtis. He apparently was down to 3 schools: USC, Ohio State, and Wisconsin. So this was a future Big Ten battle that they also won, so which is really cool. But it is kind of surprising because USC was really known as linebacker U, but in the past couple years, Ohio State has been producing a lot of good linebackers, as well as Wisconsin. So it is just another big victory overall that USC was able to take this guy, and because he's from Louisiana, was able to steal him from schools like Alabama and LSU also. So once again, a really big get. He's coming in the year 2023, so next year. So hopefully he is as good as advertised, because he's like a heat-seeking missile. He chooses which one direction to go and always ends up finding the ball carrier and lights him up big time. And he might get a couple of personal penalties and all that stuff, but to have a type of player like that, especially as your main linebacker, your starting linebacker, it's going to be awesome. He could be the next 55, because USC gives out the number 55 to the best defender on their team that year, and it's been like almost a decade since someone's been able to wear that jersey. So I think this guy has all the tools to be able to do it, in my opinion. Definitely looking forward to that. Then a couple of incoming Duke players, not this fall, but next year in 2023, a couple of the commits doing some pretty good stuff out there on the circuit, playing some games. Caleb Foster went off. He had 33 points the other day, 7 rebounds and 3 assists as well. And then Jared McCain from Corona Centennial did pretty well on the circuit. Also, he had 33 points. Also, 5 rebounds and 4 assists. So yes, these guys are showing that they can already play. Hopefully everything is going good for them health-wise when they come next fall. But yeah, overall, even Duke's recruiting class next offseason looks even as good as advertised. So definitely looking forward to those guys coming in. Then a couple of USC players were named to the watch list. It's kind of like a good thing to be able to get, like, if you're considered the best offensive player, the best quarterback, receiver, running back, defensive player, all that stuff, if you're on the list before the season starts. But the lists do get bigger and bigger every single year. I always thought it was like a top 20 of the guys who had a chance to win it, but now it seems like very long. I think that's why 2 USC players were finalists or on the watch list on one of them. But let's get through the list real quick. So for the Maxwell list, which is pretty much like a overall player, it's not the main Heisman, which is like an MVP in the NFL, but it is for one of the better offensive players in the country. And the 2 players that made it for USC were the quarterback Caleb Williams and the wide receiver Jordan Addison. So of course 2 transfers. I think everybody who's on these lists are all transfers, so it shows you how big the transfer portal was this offseason for USC. And then Davey O'Brien goes to the best quarterback in the nation. Obviously Caleb Williams is on the watch list for that as well, so congrats to him. Doak Walker goes to the top overall running back in the country. And 2 of USC's transfers, Travis Dye from Oregon and Austin Jones from Stanford, which I'm kind of like, yeah, it's cool you made the watch list, but I don't think Austin Jones is going to get that many chances unless something happens to Travis Dye to be able to get the stats to be on a finalist award list, especially for the best running back overall. So it's cool that he's getting some recognition, but yeah, overall, I don't think he's going to be a main finalist. And then obviously a Biletnikoff, which is the top wide receiver in the nation, Jordan Addison, the transfer from Pittsburgh, on these lists again as well. So hopefully one of these guys wins the list. You just never know, but hoping for a big offensive season, at least from USC coming up this season. Then both are actually all 3, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook, met that first week of the Las Vegas Summer League, kind of privately, to discuss everything, make sure they're all on the same page and all this stuff, and what they're wanting to do for this season coming up. And it is kind of weird because the guy who reported it, I think he's kind of just like reporting anything right now, because he even made a mistake during the draft as well, getting too excited and putting news out there too early. But yeah, I think it doesn't matter because when the Lakers were playing in Las Vegas, I think Russell Westbrook and LeBron James were in the stadium at the same time, and they both never went up to each other and said hello. I think only one Laker, Taylor Horton-Tucker, went up to Russell Westbrook, who was sitting on the bench at the far ends for the Lakers Summer League team, just hanging out there talking with some of those younger players, but they never met. So it's kind of weird if they did talk before, and then while at the tournament they didn't even speak to each other publicly, which is kind of weird and crazy. But that's why I don't know if this report is really true or if it's just making some noise. But overall, it feels like Rob Pelinka, the GM of the Lakers, is still trying to trade away Westbrook, and I'll get into a trade that almost went through but looks to be a little bit dead as of right now. But yeah, overall, I still don't know how it's going to work out where Westbrook is still on the team for this whole entire season. I just don't think that. And then the 2023 running back commit from Texas, Quentin Joyner of USC, apparently got accepted to the Polynesian Bowl. So a lot more highly talented players are accepting invites to that bowl instead of the All-American Bowl or the Under Armour one in Florida, just because instead of going to like Texas for the All-American or Florida for the Under Armour, you get to go to Hawaii for the Polynesian. So why not take that free week in Hawaii? It's obviously better than staying in Texas where he's from. So good luck to him and congrats to him. And speaking of that trade, so yes, apparently the Lakers were going to trade Russell Westbrook and a first-round pick to the Indiana Pacers for both Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. So it's pretty surprising that they were going to get two of the better players in that trade from that team. But apparently the talks have supposedly died out just because the Lakers are not willing to include the second first-round pick or the other first-round pick in the future that they have. So I'm pretty sure that's what Indiana wants, even though they're either going to buy out Westbrook or try to work out something to where he doesn't even have to play for them this season coming up. And the Lakers, yeah, Turner, he still only has 1 year left on his deal, but Buddy Hield has a couple more years, so it's kind of eating into your 2023 cap space. Overall, even though he's a pretty good shooter, I just don't know if they're willing to give up two first-round picks for that. They might be trying to give up second-round picks, and Indiana doesn't want them, but you just never know. They might end up taking whatever they can get at this point, because it doesn't seem like anyone else is trying to trade for these guys for some reason. And then you just don't know whether to feel sad for him or not. Some miscellaneous news here, but apparently Sylvester Stallone is trying to get back the rights to the Rocky franchise, because over the years he's pretty much has lost it just because of contracts he's signed and all this other stuff, giving up rights way back when, most likely. And it's kind of weird that he's asking for that just to be able to pass on something to his children. But it's like, haven't you not made millions and millions of dollars selling all these new, boxed DVDs and Blu-rays of the franchise that you helped create before and all this stuff? So I think your future is pretty much intact, but it does suck. That's just the way of the business. It's kind of like what you negotiate, because at the time he was probably a little bit more desperate to make the money right away instead of keeping the rights fully. So you just never know what the future holds, and eventually it became a big time cash cow, and yeah, it just sucks overall for him. But I think he's done pretty well from that franchise, so can't feel too sorry for him. Then yes, to end this video off, Henry Cavill is supposedly and reportedly gonna be at San Diego Comic-Con this weekend for Warner Brothers to be re-announced as Superman. And there's been a lot of talks, especially from The Rock. He's been very cryptic on talk shows and stuff that they are gonna do something big in his movie Black Adam, his superhero movie for DC that's coming out in a couple months. And obviously the only real superhero that could challenge Black Adam is pretty much Superman at this point. So there could be something where he might be making a cameo in there, or they have a fight in there that nobody's mentioned. But yes, all points all things point to Henry Cavill returning and maybe getting a second Man of Steel movie, which would be great. I don't think Warner Brothers really has a good relationship as of right now with that Man of Steel director, Zack Snyder, who recently did his Justice League and stuff. There's been a lot of weird reports coming out about him and his fans, like how crazy they are online. But to be able to get this guy, Henry Cavill, back, who's been my favorite Superman, obviously, because I love that Man of Steel movie, and thought he was really underused in the next two movies after that he was in, just because of what they did with his character. But I think he could have a big time redeeming arc, and if it's not the same universe as they were trying to build before, it's all good, because he is, I don't think you're going to find a better replacement unless you get like a Michael B. Jordan, in my opinion. But overall, that's just the news of the week. Not that much. We'll see what happens next week. So thanks for watching, people. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what y'all think. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. Fight on.